Good morning, everyone. Deanna Bruce here. Let's go ahead and get started with some yoga. We're going to start our practice on laying flat on our mat, on our backs. So go ahead and lay down flat on your back. You can keep your knees bent. You can straighten your legs and just lay those legs flat on the mat. Find a comfortable spot for yourself. This is a nice way to start. It's Saturday morning. It's a gentle practice. So why don't we just start laying down? I've had the pleasure of guiding someone on Zoom through a bed yoga sequence, and this always reminds me of that. It's such a nice way to begin a practice. Just let go. Release your body into your mat. Allow your mat to carry you, to lift you, to support you. The ground will always be here, your trusted companion. It will always catch you. It'll always hold you. It will always support you, lift you up. So just be here for a while, for several breaths, for several minutes, actually. And first, let's just notice our body, finding stillness. Use your mind and focus it here on the mat where we are. Do not use your mind to make a grocery list. Do not use your mind to think about the rest of your day, to think about other people. Use your mind instead for the next hour to focus on yourself, to focus on your body, to focus on our practice on this mat. So right now, when I say use your mind, use it to notice how your body is more still now than it was just a few minutes ago. And just take a few breaths and focus your mind on your body, on its stillness, on the energy you see and feel as you hold your body still. Do you feel its energy still? Do you feel the energy in it and around it? Release some of that energy into the ground. Next, let's use our minds to do a body scan. We're going to start on the little soft pads at the tips of our toes. And notice and observe those little soft pads at the tips of our toes. Is there any tension in those little soft pads that you can release? And then move up to your toes. Anything, any tension you're holding in your toes, see if you can release that tension. Release your little 10 toes. They don't really flop, but let's see if you can release them to a point where if they flopped, they would. They would be these little floppy ears at the ends of your feet. Let's move up to the ball of your foot. Any tension in the ball of your foot. That big soft pad on the bottom of your foot. How can you release it further? Release it, let it droop towards the floor. Your arch, your beautiful arch. Serves us in so many ways and also is a point of aggravation for many of us. Our arch and our plantar fascia that runs along the bottom of our foot, they all can get cranky. And we'll spend time this hour stretching them so that we can better support them and love on them. Right now, how can you release them? Relax. Release any tension in both your arch and along the bottom of your foot. And let's go to that heel. Any tension in your heel, anything keeping it stiff that you have the power to relax and release. Do that now. I'm not sure what a tense heel would be, but maybe some of you are there and can take a moment to release it. And the same as we move up towards our ankle. Scan both of your ankles, your left and your right. Release any tension. Release anything, even just a minuscule amount of tension. Release that. Let your ankles droop closer to the floor. Droop into the floor, melt into the floor. And before we go further up in the body, let's just pause and take a moment to notice our feet, our droopy feet. Every centimeter of every muscle and every bone just relaxed. Every connective tissue relaxed. Almost, they feel like flippers at this point. They're not these intense parts of our body that hold our entire body up, but they're like these little flippers that are just dangling. Now let's keep moving up past our ankles. Let's release our shins. Any pressure, any tension, just release the left shin, the right shin, and the two calves behind them. The Achilles up to the calves. Any tension you find in them, any lingering, holding on. Let it go. It's a good time to bring that mind back to this mat in case it drifts. We're focused on our calves. And now let's bring our energy and our time and our focus to our knees. Release the kneecaps. Release the left knee, the right knee. Any tension you're holding, just let it go. Maybe your knees are now sort of flopping out to each side of the mat. And then further up the leg. Focus first on your thighs, your left thigh, release it, your right thigh, release it. Any pressure, any tension, just let it go. And then wrap your attention behind your hamstrings. Release your upper leg. It's an area of tension for me to think about how you can release it. Your left leg, your right leg, your quads, your hamstrings. Now you've got just these two sticks with little flippers attached to them. No tension, no pressure. And then bring your attention up to your butt. If you're tightening your glutes or holding on to anything in your glutes, take a moment to let that go. Release them. And your hips, your pelvis. How can you release any pressure, any tension, anything that you're holding on, just let it go. Move your attention to your waist. How might you hold on right now? And take a moment to relax it, release it, let go. Your waist, up the sides of your torso, your chest. How can you release your chest? Another place of tension. I carry my stress in my chest. So how can we all release anything we're carrying in our chest right now? These body scans you can do at your desk during the workday as a way to release any stress that you're carrying in your body. Carrying stress in our body is one way to cope. Doing a body scan to release it is another way to cope. Now let's focus on the back of our back. The lower back, release it. Our middle back, release it. The upper back, release it. Any extra tension you're carrying in your back, release it. And then let's go to the shoulders. They like to scrunch up. Let's release them. And then as we run down our arm, how do we carry that release from our shoulders into our forearm, our biceps and our triceps, our elbows, the left and the right elbow, and our forearms. Take a moment and release each part of your arm. your left bicep, your right bicep, your left tricep, your right tricep, your left elbow, your right elbow, your left forearm, your right forearm, your wrists, your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky, and those soft little pads at the tips of your fingers. Send your focus to your neck. Release your throat. If you're clenching your teeth, release them. Your tongue, release your tongue. Your teeth, your front teeth, your canines, your molars. Send your attention to your cheeks. Are your cheeks squished up? How do you release them? Release that tension. Your nose. Make your nose a squishy little blob on your face. Release any tension in your eyes, your temples, your forehead. I carry a lot of tension there in my forehead. Evidence I haven't had Botox. Got my nice little squishy lines up there. On the top of your head, side of your head, your ears, the back of your head. What efforts can you make to release all those muscles that are holding and supporting your skull, the top part of your head? We'll just lay here for another few breaths. With every muscle that we can control relaxed. Inside our body, we have lots of muscles that are moving without our control, and for that, we're very grateful. We don't want them to relax. And just breathe the movement of your own breath. And use your mind here on the mat to notice how your body feels different than when you first got on your mat. Now let's go ahead and start a little movement to our practice. How's that? You tell everybody I went to yoga class and I laid flat on a mat the whole time. It was awesome. These meditative practices, what they say that the hatha yoga, which is the yoga of movement, it's just go ahead and make circles with your hands and your feet while I talk. Hatha movement, which is the yoga of movement, which is the yoga that we practice for the most part in the United States, which is what I teach. It prepares us for meditation, is sort of what they say in the in the Yoga Sutra. And so that sort of preparation for meditation sometimes can feel like meditation itself. So let's go ahead and take advantage of that lovely meditation that we started our practice with and join it with some movement. Send both your arms and your legs extended past your mat. And we'll make some crescent moon shapes with our body. Walk your body, your hands and your feet over to the right. You make a little moon, crescent moon shape out of yourself. And we'll stay here for about a minute. You can also add here, you can take your left leg and cross it over your right leg. You can take your left palm hand and place it inside your right palm. Those are just some optional things you can do. You can keep your hands and your feet just right next to each other as you make this crescent moon shape. See if you can keep knit your ribs into each other so you're not arching your back up towards the sky, but you're knitting your ribs in so you're giving yourself more of a side stretch. And you may feel this stretch all the way from your toes to your fingers. And go ahead and unhook your hands and feet if you did. Can't come back to center and stretch. Really long. And now come over to the other side. So walk your hands and your feet over to the left. You can cross just like you did on the other side if you want to. Your right leg over your left leg and your right hand inside your left palm. Knit your rib cage together. Keep both hips on the floor. And see if maybe you feel the stretch from your toes to your fingers. Unhook yourself and come back to center. Bring both of your knees into your chest. Wrap your arms around your shins. And see if you can keep your hips on the floor as you bring your knees into your chest. It's a little bit of a stretch for your back. You're stretching it by keeping it flat, which feels like a stretch to me. Now we'll rock side to side. Hold on to your shins with your leg, with your hands. And eventually rock yourself over to the right side. Drop your knees to the right, to the floor on the right side of your body. Then send both of your arms out into a T shape so they're perpendicular to your body. We'll stay here for just about a minute, and you can send your gaze off to the left. Come back to center. And let's rock those knees back and forth again. Give yourself a little bit of a massage to your back. And when you're ready, go ahead and rock your knees over to the left and drop them onto the floor to the left of your body. Arms out into a T shape. Gaze off towards the right. Come back to center. Again, you can rock your knees back and forth. And then let's do a happy baby. So send your knees into your armpits and grab onto your feet on the outside of your feet. And keep rocking. We'll take turns here, straightening our legs. Now, it's not gonna be the most graceful thing you've ever seen because we're just sort of, our body hasn't been running around for a lot. So straighten your right leg as much as it looks straight. I mean, this is as straight as I'm getting mine as an example. And then bring it back to center, straighten, again in quotation marks, the left leg. And come back to center. Let's do the right one again. And come back to center. We'll do the left one again. Come back to center. And now we'll straighten both of them. And you can rock some more here if you want. People like to call this happy baby. I like to call it reclining scarab. And bring your feet back to center. Drop your feet to the floor with your knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And then drop both knees out to the side. Press the bottoms of your feet together. And we'll just stay here for several seconds. Sort of a reclining bound angle. Well, not sort of, it is. You probably feel your hip opening on each side. Let's see if you can engage your core while you do this as a way to support your lower back. Place both hands on the outside of your thighs and use that to push your knees together. Let's go ahead and roll over onto our side and come into tabletop. No, this is a good thing. So from tabletop, we're gonna first focus on our alignment. So make sure that your knees are below your hips and your wrists are below your shoulders. Make little L's with your hands. So we've got two little L's. Your hands are going to be like this. but focus your attention on the two L's that you're making with your index fingers and your thumbs. Keep most of the pressure on those two fingers instead of all 10. It'll help you make all the movements that we do right now a little bit easier. Let's go ahead and start with some cat and cow movement. So lift your pelvis, drop your belly, lift your gaze, tuck your pelvis, round your back, drop your gaze. Let's just do the several movements at your own pace, following your own breath. And then make round movements with your body as you do this. So send your butt to your heels and back around. Send your body past your wrists to give yourself a little bit of a stretch. Keep going with circles. When you're ready, you can move in the other direction. And when you're ready, go ahead and meet me here in tabletop. Send your right foot back, toe tucked, and push your body back and forwards. And we'll just take this several moments at your own breath. You can take your time with this, slowly stretching the back leg and come forward. And when you're ready, you can switch legs. Send that left leg back, toe tucked, and then send your weight backwards and forwards. And like we did before, when you send your weight forward, you can go a little bit further than your wrists to give yourself a bit of a stretch. Your wrists a bit of a stretch. They don't get a lot of a stretch, and some of us can get stuck with some pretty gnarly wrist issues, tendonitis and carpal tunnel and things like that. We spend a lot of time using our wrists and our computers and not enough time stretching them. So come back to tabletop and now send that right leg back and up into the air, parallel with the floor. And then bend it and bring it out to the side and back behind you. Hips are even and pointing towards the floor. Bring it out to the side and back behind you. One more time. 3 is a charm. And back behind you. And if you want to, you can add your left arm to the circus in the sky. So send your left arm ahead of you, also parallel with the ground. And bring both your elbow and your knee together. And out. Bring your elbow and your knee together. And back out. Again, 3rd time's a charm. Back out. And this is a great way to engage your core. For some of us, doing a plank isn't the most enjoyable thing, or not something we want to do, or not even something that we're able or to access. But this is an alternative way to engage your core. And come back to tabletop. Let's go ahead and pause for a moment in child's pose. Push your big toes together. Walk yourself back so that your bottom is on your heels, and walk yourself forward until you are on, your forehead is on the floor. Use your hands to push your butt closer to your heels. We'll come up and we'll take the other side. So send your left leg back, up off the ground, hips even and pointing towards the floor. Bringing that leg around to the side, to the back, to the side, the back, to the side, to the back. And if you want to add your arm, go ahead and do that now. Send your arm off the ground, past the mat, parallel with the floor. Flat back, engage that core. Bring your elbow and your knee together and back out. Elbow and knee together, back out. Elbow and knee together, back out. We'll hold this expression of the posture a few more breaths. And come back together. We'll go back into child's pose. Again, keep those arms engaged in front of you, shoulders down and back. And then use those hands. You've got your little L, your L's, and use those to push forward, which will send your hips and your butt closer to those heels. And come up to tabletop. Send your left arm out beside you like an airplane. And then we'll thread the needle, send it in between your knee and your hand on the right. Drop that left shoulder onto the floor and use it to push your torso into a twisted shape as your heart is opening towards the ceiling. Add your right arm to it, and that right arm up towards the sky. Continue using your left shoulder to push, send your chest further open, further towards the ceiling. You can wrap your arm behind you. You can send your right leg to the back. You can bring it off the floor. All kinds of fun things to do in this expression of the posture. Whee! It all works. Bring that right hand back down onto the floor. Push your torso up and untwist body. Send that left arm back up like an airplane and down to tabletop. Now we'll use our right hand. We'll send it out to the side like an airplane and thread that needle on the other side. Push your right shoulder into the floor. You can also use your left hand to push into the floor, which will also twist your torso towards the sky. And you can stay right here. You can lift that left arm up towards the sky Continue to use your right shoulder to push further into the ground, which will twist your chest. You can do all kinds of things like we did on the other side. Wrap your left arm around your body. Send your left leg out behind you. Lift it off the ground. Whoops. Fall over. One of my teachers used to say that you didn't actually get the job done until you fell over. And then bring that left hand back to the floor and use it to push your torso up as you untwist, unwind, untwist. From here, come back to tabletop. We're going to stretch out our wrists a little bit more, like we did when we were stretching forward. But this way, we're going to have our wrists here in front of us in a tabletop and begin to slowly walk your fingers out so that they're both pointing off the side of your mat. And then you can begin to keep twisting them until maybe your fingers are pointing towards your knees. If that doesn't work for you, just stop where your body tells you to stop. You can stay right here. You can sort of rock forward and backward if your fingers are pointing towards your knees. Gentle rocking. And just as slowly as we came into this position, let's slowly unwind. Unwind your fingers so that you're back in tabletop. And now bring your knees together, tuck your toes. We're going to walk ourselves up into a seated position. So we are now sitting on our tucked toes, which probably feels really challenging. We're going to shake out our wrists while we do this. So bring the backs of your hands together, touching out your wrists, and then just shake them out. Come back to tabletop. And we'll sit for a moment and do some stretching exercises with our legs and our arms. First, we're just gonna stay still in this expression. So legs in front of us, not so straight that the heels come off the ground, but just so the heels are on the floor. Maybe there's some engagement in those thighs, shoulders down and back, and your hands just beside you. Your palms may touch, may not, depending on how your body is shaped. And we'll just stay here, core engaged, ribs knitted into each other, shoulders down and back, legs engaged. You can stay here with your eyes open. You can close your eyes. You can just soften your gaze. We're going to be here for several breaths. This is actually an active pose because of all the work you're doing to maintain it. And then you open your eyes, bring your arms up overhead, fall forward with a flat back until you can't anymore, and then round your back. Drop your hands to the floor, to your shins. You can wrap around your feet if that works for you. Just find some expression of the posture that you can hold here for about a minute. With every exhalation, see if you can walk your fingers a little bit more forward, give you a deeper stretch. In and breathe out and walk a little bit forward. You may need to just soften your knees. Don't keep them super straight because we want to feel that stretch in the back of the hamstring, not at sort of the knee, behind the knee or behind or on your butt. Flatten your back and lift those arms up overhead. Send your left leg out a little bit to the side and bring your right foot close into your pelvis. Arms up overhead. Twist your torso so you're facing your extended leg. And again, this leg is not super straight. It doesn't have to be super straight. Have a little bit of a bend in that knee. And fold forward. Flat back until you round it and drop to the floor. Keep your twist, the twist in your middle and upper back so that you continue to face your extended leg. And just like when we were folding forward before, when you exhale, see if you can go a little bit deeper into the stretch. And use your hands to walk yourself up to a seat, upright position. We'll switch legs. Arms up overhead, shoulders down and back. Twist your torso so you're facing your knee, your leg, extended leg. And begin to fold forward with a flat back until you round it. And touch your hands, bring your hands to the floor. And remember, when you breathe out, see if you can stretch the stretch a little bit more. You can go deeper into the stretch. And then begin to walk yourself back up to a seated position. Bring bottoms of your feet together like we did when we were laying down. A reclined bound angle. Now bring your hands onto your ankles. Shoulders down and back, core engaged, and send your knees off to each wall on each side of you, to your left and your right. We'll stay right here for a moment, upright. And then when you're ready, you can begin to fold forward with a flat back. Use those hands to walk yourself forward until you can find a way, an expression that you can hold for the next minute. Just like in our other forward folds, when you exhale, see if you can go a little deeper into the stretch. Slowly walk yourself up to a seated position. From here, take your left leg and wrap it over your right leg. So your right heel is over here underneath your right hip or next your left hip. And you've got your knees sort of over each other. Bring your arms up overhead and into the heart center. And now take your left arm and send it up and behind you. Take your right arm, bring it behind, and see if they can grab onto each other. If not, just grab onto the shirt behind your shirt or your bra strap and find an expression of this posture that works for you. And I know that different sides of the body also work differently. I know my other side is going to involve a lot of holding on of bra straps. And from here, see if you can fold forward. And then come back up, release your fingers. Make some movements with your arms. And then do your twist over to the left. Put your right hand on the outside of your left thigh and twist around behind you. Now send both of your hands back behind you so you can swap spots with your legs. Your arms up overhead, the prayer position, and then send your right arm out and behind you, and your left arm behind you. See if you can grab on or grab onto something. And begin to fold forward. Forward, come upwards, back upright, release them, and send your twist over towards the right side. We're going to close our practice. Go ahead and untwist yourself. Send both hands back so you can untwist your legs and lay flat on your back. We'll end our practice the way we started. Bring our chest, our knees into our chest, and roll over to the right side. Send our gaze over to the left. And back to center. And send those knees over to the left and our gaze to the right. Come back to center and take any other movement you want to take before we close our practice in corpse pose for Shavasana. Your feet as wide as your mat, your arms on the floor beside you. This is a nice moment. You can do another body scan at your own pace. You can just notice with your mind how your body feels differently than when we started our practice. You can just lay here and zone out, but just keep your mind and your breath and your body together on this mat. Bring some movement back to your toes and your fingers. Maybe make some circles with your wrists, your ankles. Bring your knees into your chest and roll over onto your side. And before you get up, express a little bit of gratitude for yourself, for being here on this mat this morning, or any other bit of gratitude you'd like to express to yourself. Use your hands, push yourself up to a seated position. Bring your hands to the heart center. Drop your chin to your chest. The teacher in me sees and honors the teacher in each one of you. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share this practice with you all. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.